Almost everybody has this, the 6, 8, 10 set of Remo RotoToms. It's not that big of a deal. It's a little less common to have a 12. I actually don't have a 14, it should be here in the middle. This is the biggest one I used to have. It's a 16, which is a pretty hefty beast. Until now, I actually got my hands on the full-sized 18-inch Remo RotoTom. Yes, it's a Remo brand, not a knockoff. This is the real deal, the original, the largest Rototom ever produced by Remo, the 18-inch. I said I'd have a video on it. Here it is. That's the one. Just for a little direct comparison here, this is the 6-inch Rototom, the smallest one they make, and this is the 18. So of course it is literally 3 times wider. You could fit 3 of these in the diameter of that. So surface area wise, you can do the math. There's a ton more drum head there. So they are right now in regular timpani / concert tom order. We could have done it the other direction, drum set / German timpani order, but I don't know. I just set them up this way. I've got them tuned roughly to some kind of major-ish triad. And it's really hard to film these without myself being in the way, and also from players' perspective. So sorry if this is a little janky. Of course, the thing we all want to talk about is this big one, the 18-inch. So right now I have it here. But of course this has a big tuning range. They all are supposed to have at least an octave. So we can go down quite a bit from here. This is about as low as it can go and it won't rattle. Then I can go up from there. And the stand is actually too janky for this to go any higher. It keeps moving rather than allowing me to tune up the tom. But I could go higher if I really get down there and work on it. That's about as high as I'm going to be able to get it today. Now, these aren't perfectly in tune with themselves, and they all have different heads, so how good this sounds, especially through this camera, it's going to be highly debatable or questionable. So the most classic heads for these are obviously the Remo black dots, but I don't have any of those. They all sort of from a distance look similar, but they're not, and that sort of messes with my ability to tune them and for them to sound good together. On the little ones I have pinstripes. This third one I have just a regular clear emperor. These 3 all have Remo timpani heads, but obviously they're not really timpani heads. They're essentially made for rototoms. They're basically like an emperor or a clear ambassador, I don't know which, but they're designed specifically to emulate sort of a timpani tone on a rototom more or less. You could put them on concert toms. They obviously aren't actually timpani sizes. They're regular drum sizes. So to sort of take a look at the tuning range of these things, this lowest one is where I just had it at the highest tuning that it will support, or that I can get it to on this kind of weird stand. And then I just went, that happens to be pretty close to a B flat, and I went up the B flat scale for 5 more notes after that. And without having the 14 here that I should have between those, it puts the higher drums really low in their ranges. You'll see what I mean. Alright, so if you're trying to do just regular whole steps and half steps, this one up here, it's really too low for it. So if I wanted to go any lower on the lower drum, the lowest drum, I just couldn't get it from like those top 3. Now if I put the top 3 in a range where they're comfortable, I'm not going to be able to get these lower drums high enough. So in order to really do chromatic or diatonic, I would have to have multiple of each size so that I could stay closer to their home ranges. Now if I did with chords though, or like big intervals, it works way better. So here I've got it tuned roughly to a B flat 7 arpeggio, so I kept the big drum at exactly the same tuning, and I just increased these all to thirds of each other, in the B flat arpeggio, rather than, whole and half steps. So it sounds like this. And that gets these upper drums really into a range where they make sense, while still having the higher pitches that I can basically get out of the lower drums. Now if I did more like fourths or put a bigger jump in the bottom, those drums would be more in the ranges that they like, and I'll try to do that. So in this case I took out the seventh that was here and I dropped these two drums and I dropped this one down to the fifth below. So anyway, it's still a B flat arpeggio, it just doesn't have a seventh, and now it's in a better tuning range for all the drums. Again, tuning results may vary. Now I have another video where I set up the ones that I had before as a drum set. So it was like a kick, a regular snare, and then these 5 rototoms at the top here. And it turns out they really don't sound very good for drum set playing, because even though they seem like they're bright and they would cut really well once you get cymbals going, they really don't cut that well at all. It's misleading. They cut worse than regular two-headed drum set toms because they don't resonate that well. They initially have a lot of attack, but then it kind of decays. We perceive a longer decay under perfect acoustic conditions, but with a bunch of noise on top of them, they just die away almost instantly because there's no resonant head. And so they're kind of cool in that they're retunable real quick. You just whip it to a new tuning, yay for us, but it doesn't work that well as a drum set piece of equipment. It looks really cool. Full rototom drum sets exist and they're awesome. Terry Bozzio had one. There's a few other drummers. What's his name? Was it Carl Palmer maybe? Or Bill Bruford? I don't know. Maybe they both had big rototom drum sets. But it's not really that practical. If you close mic every one, you can kind of get away with that. But if you're just trying to jam acoustically, it doesn't work very well at all. It's actually a little bit unfortunate that this is the biggest size that they ever made that I'm aware of, because it's not quite big enough to even pretend to be a bass drum. And even if you put like a shell somehow behind it to help it, pull out the low end, and then you still had it, rapidly tunable, it's still only an 18-inch bass drum. It might work for combo jazz, but you couldn't like play rock on an 18-inch bass drum very effectively. And really you wouldn't want to be retuning your bass drum for rock anyway that often. So anyway, it'd be cool if there was like a 20 or 22-inch one. I am unaware of one. If you know of one, let me know. Leave me a comment where you could possibly get like a 22-inch rototom, because that would be awesome. That also starts to overlap with the sizes of actual timpani. Now, cool thing about this that I mentioned in one of my other rototom videos, but I'll say it again, they used to have rototoms with a pedal attachment that they called timpanellos, I think. So you could tune it with your foot like a regular timpani, and really I think the reason these exist at all is because and the reason that they're in these sizes for that matter is timpani, usually if you get the extended range set of timpani with the 5th one at the top, that's 20 inches. So then if you want to go up from there, this would be the next logical drum, and then this would be the next logical drum, etc. to extend the range of timpani up past what a 20-inch drum can normally do. Of course, the tone's going to change, but if you're really using these tiny sizes for timpani, you're not that concerned with it being perfect, I guess. Because timpani normally go, even if the extended size range would be like 20 for the top one, then like this one would be 23, and then 26, 29, and like 32 or something, I think, like by threes. And then this one starts, not coincidentally, just like 2 inches above the smallest one. If I'm not really interested in playing these on drum set, why do I have them? Well, really for me as a teacher, I'm not going to be able to fit even one timpani in this room, much less a set of 4. So if there's an audition coming up or someone has a fantastically difficult timpani part in high school or middle school band, we can arrange these in a timpani order. They can work on the stickings and any potential crossovers or double strokes that they have to make, and they can hear the pitches even if it has to be like an octave too high. And it sort of works out. You can get more of a feel for it than you could using drum set toms or practice pads or pillows or something, right? So that is really why I have them, is for effective timpani, lessons without actually having timpani. Because yeah, unless I have a house with another couple thousand square feet of extra space, there's no way on earth I'm ever getting a set of actual timpani, as sad as that is. So that's about it for my RotoTom collection today. I will have a little bit about how I mounted them all at the end of this video if you're interested, although I have a different video on mounting as well, whatever you want to look at. I am also accepting donations for the 14-inch that should be here, or if you see a really fantastically cheap one, send me a link. I would like to get a 14. They also made a RotoTom snare, which would be super cool, although I doubt I'm really ever going to find one that I'm willing to pay for. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks, and see you guys next time. I typically get a lot of questions on the mounting system for RotoToms. This is the bar mounting system that you normally get. These handles just lock it in. I have another video on RotoTom mounting, but we'll talk about it here anyway. And basically, this bar just mounts to the top of what seems like it was cymbal stand or something very similar to a cymbal stand. And so then you can move them slightly back and forth on the track there, and it's kind of okay. It tilts, but you know, they're always perfectly in a linear straight line. If you just want to mount one RotoTom, you can get one of these block mounting systems where the RotoTom can either go in this hole this way or the hole that it's currently in this way, and it just clamps itself to a stand. You can put it on a sort of any stand, and it's fine. But if the RotoTom has the carriage bolt end that actually fits into this track over here, it really is a hard time getting it into this thing. You have to unthread it from the drum, put it through the mounting block here, and then put it back in the drum. This is actually a third way of mounting it, and this isn't in my other video. And this is like a purpose-built cymbal stand sort of adapter for just one RotoTom. It has a hole, of course, going through it this way, and it's just riveted to the stand in this direction. And of course there's a screw where you tighten it on the back, hold the thing in. So again, if you have the carriage bolt end for the track, you kind of have to finagle it in there. This one doesn't have that. And it just attaches to like a regular stand base so that you can have one RotoTom, and this inherently has a tilt ability, whereas the blocks you have to mount it to a stand that has a tilt. So this one incorporates a lot of what I've just talked about. It has the carriage bolt end, but I took it off the drum, threaded it through here, put it back on the drum. Now it's got sort of the ability to do both. It's got the normal block, but I've put it on a tom ball arm so that I could put this at whatever angle that I wanted, and it's not going to be a big deal. If we look really closely at how this track mount bar attaches to the stand, this piece here that it's actually bolted into is the same as this piece here from this stand, which is not in focus, but too bad. So I could mount one RotoTom directly from this hole if I took this bar off and got it out of the way. So of course you can't use both simultaneously, but it is possible to mount one off of here or to mount the bar and have three if they're smallish.